much to do then. So you'll have to excuse me, I'm not used to public speaking, but I'm going to just briefly introduce each speaker. They've kindly provided me a biography so I can stick to the script. First up is Nathaniel Loxley. Nathaniel moved from a relatively secure career in financial crime risk, no stress there, within the banking sector to start a business in the rapidly emerging fledgling hemp industry. Amongst the list of driving factors was the desire to reconnect with the rhythms of nature and to bring communities closer to the agri-food supply chain. Founding Vitality Hemp in 2014 and co-founding the British Hemp Association in 2018, Nathaniel is committed to developing a modern relationship with this culturally significant crop, which has a huge environmental and economic potential within the UK and beyond. Nathaniel.
Good evening. Thank you very much, Reece, for the introduction. Thank you very much, Leanne, for the invitation. It's fantastic to be here. Very humbled to be in this environment in front of you and to contribute in any way I can. My journey has been relatively short. I started researching 5 years ago, and as soon as I realised what the benefits were and how vast the opportunities were in terms of growing hemp. I mean, the anecdotal evidence is 50,000 different products that you can make. But also the agricultural benefits, that we're not growing enough in the country. I soon realised we had to take the bull by the horns and actually start to grow. So that's where I started in 2014. And I got a Home Office licence. It's a bureaucratic, it's absolute nightmare to go through the process. You have to buy certain cultivars. There are restrictions on where you're growing, what you're growing, and what your end products are. That is a situation which has sadly gotten even more strict in terms of what your intentions are. So that's where we started to kind of look at how to grow. I was given an opportunity to grow in Sussex, which is really, really fantastic. And I looked to Aldo Leopold and his Sand County Armagnac, which was a real inspiration to actually kind of get involved in regenerative agriculture. So developed a business plan, started growing hemp just off the back of initiative really, and then still trying to figure out where to go with it. So that's where a number of different people in the industry kind of started from a point of interest and compassion as well, because there is a lot of obviously emotive reasons why we're all here today, whether that's health or environmental. For whatever reason, it all plays a part. So, again, we mentioned the vast amount of uses of hemp. We can literally use every single part of the plant. There is research that looks into every part, and our relationship with that plant has been going on for millennia. Actually, we've had a cultural and social impact which has been really, really significant, and over the past 80 years we've been divorced away from that, and now it's time for us to actually kind of re-engage with the plant and bring it back into our community. So yeah, that's some examples of us growing, obviously. So I started the business growing different variety, which was for different reasons. We wanted to make use of as much of the plant as possible. There are still a lot of restrictions in terms of what license allows you to do. You have to grow, like I said, below 0.2% THC varieties, which is very challenging. So it really kind of limits your opportunity. Not only that is the opportunities within the UK in terms of the infrastructure was just not there. So, sorry, back up. we looked at what potential we could get from the plant, and unfortunately there just isn't enough way to process it, and that's why we looked to having a connection with different businesses to connect together, to actually network, to actually try and build something a bit more substantial in order to drive things forward. So there are different silos dotted around the country, up and down England, in Scotland, in Wales, who are doing their thing on the farm, but yeah, really struggling. So that's what really drove the formation of the British Hemp Association, and that's a really important factor for me and other small businesses and communities that we work in, to actually kind of see the opportunity realised. So we're a group of passionate and dynamic businesses. We're looking to work alongside larger organisations who have better resources and more experience in certain industries. We have the passion to bring to the table, to bring to the fore. We have the knowledge which has been carefully cultivated. As Leanne pointed out, we're very far behind the global industry. The global situation is very interesting. We can look to different countries such as Canada, we can look to Greece, we can look to Italy. All of these countries have a much more developed industry. Canada, for example, were growing at the same time as the UK. They had it was legally allowed to grow industrial hemp varieties, but with a lot of research and government incentives and subsidies put into the research, we can see how that economy, the hemp economy, has developed significantly greater than over here. So there is some really interesting potential roadmaps to look at. I mentioned Greece, for example, who in 2018 saw the economic and environmental opportunities to start growing. Not only industrial hemp, but obviously medical cannabis as well. So this is just a couple of figures which was from a recent report by the Prohibition Partners, and they estimate the market value of 45.2 million euros. So this is industrial hemp alone, with a market value which is really kind of quite significant in terms of this is just seed and stalk. So there is a lot of opportunity, and in the UK alone, by 2020, the potentials are huge. I mean, the figure that they put was 29 million euros, 25 million pounds. I tend to believe that it could be a lot more, a lot higher than that, a lot bigger impact. So with huge growth and consumer-driven demand, this is where we're finding some drivers. So recent history has been challenging in the UK from a processing perspective, and this is what we're trying to work on. Nick Bose from East Yorkshire Hemp was involved in hemp for a long time. He has been involved in hemp for one of the longest running hemp farmers in the UK at the moment, but he got involved as a contract grower just as the subsidies were cut back. So subsidies for processing hemp were stripped back, so he had to go out on his own in order to make a way. So he struggled for the last 14 years, developed his own processes, which is fantastic. And in that time, the hemp construction industry has gone up and down and through cycles. So now we're at a point, obviously, with the Brexit situation, the new CAP review and reform in European Parliament. At the moment, the European Industrial Hemp Association are lobbying for hemp incentives for farmers. Regional incentives are a real driver, and that's something that we should implant into our own initiatives, because empowering farmers to grow hemp takes away from the burden which is subsidies. When you're reliant on subsidies, the NFU put a figure of 70% of farms' income is from subsidies. You're really kind of caught over a barrel at that point, where it's not economically viable to grow a crop over just getting a subsidy, a handout for greening. And another example is for forestry. So you get a £2,000 per hectare incentive for growing forest, but it has to be commercial, so you have to cut that down. So from an environmental perspective, it's absolutely ludicrous. So I think to reconnect with our land and actually look at our agri-food supply chain, where there's a lot of impact, there's a huge amount of potential. We have some really fantastic innovators, and there's some schemes like the Innovate UK scheme. I'm involved in the Food Waste Network, which is a BBS RC funded project, and it's a really good diverse group of businesses and academics who have come together to reduce farm waste, food waste from the point of production all the way to consumption. So it's a really important aspect of CO2 emissions, let alone waste. So that's a really progressive group. And there are partners in Wales, for example, Bangor University, the University of South Wales as well, are really interested in looking at that waste. So there is a feeling of optimism at the moment, especially in the Innovate UK project, which is commercially driven incentives for cross-sector collaboration. So that's really going to drive some change. We need to look at what technologies we can use and integrate those into conventional farming, and how hemp can actually add value to that supply chain as well. We have a consumer zeitgeist. The Blue Planet effect is very much in people's public consciousness and the psyche of everyone, and that's where we have a real kind of commercial driver. We had, take it back to the consortium, so like I mentioned, the Food Waste Net is a group that I'm involved in. Setting up the British Hemp Association was a very interesting process, bringing small businesses together, and now we're involved in different projects to work with some of these institutions. The EIT Food, the European Institute for Technology, the foods aspect of that has just been set up, so that's a real interesting angle. But we really need to figure out how we're going to do this, whatever the situation in Brexit. So I think taking more responsibility, the devolution and opportunities that hemp can offer to a variety of problems is really it's quite significant. We can replace many conventional solutions that petrochemical and aggregates provide, and hemp is really set to disrupt a lot of industries. The damage that monoculture has really depleted our soils and depleted our waterways and caused so much pollution. We really have an opportunity to start growing different varieties. That's where we're at. Just to take you on to the compliance regulation, there's a lot of risk within that. Things need to change. We need to get together in terms of actually how to develop our own regulatory framework. So that's something we need to discuss. There are a number of different challenges, but I think leave you on one note. Aldo Leopold's quote, "Conservation is getting nowhere because it is incompatible with our Abrahamic concept of land. We abuse land because we regard it as a commodity belonging to us. When we see land as a community which we belong to, we may begin to use it with love and respect." I think that's important for hemp and community.